Hello there everyone. Today I want to show you how to make this macrame flower ring. And this is what it looks like. So you have the ring band, also made of macrame. And then it sits like this in your finger. Now I've just called this a flower ring because this is kind of like a flower look. But you can also use it for other types of things. Like for this one, I've used a flower gemstone and then I've used this technique, the exact same technique, but to form like leaves around it instead. Also turned that into a ring. So it can work both for like creating a flower, using it for leaves, or even a star as well it could go for. So if you want to learn how to make that, then stay tuned. And these are the things that you're going to need. First off, you'll need whatever cord that you decide to work with, or thread. In this case I'm using some 0.4mm s-lon cord, just in a dark grey colour. You can use many different types, it doesn't have to be this specific one. And then you'll need some glue to finish it off at the end. I'm using some Hypo cement because I really like this glue for this kind of work. It's got a right fine precision tip and then it dries clear. And then you'll need a scissor to obviously cut your cord. You'll need a little bead if you want a bead in the middle. This is just a little shell bead. It's about an 8mm, but again, you can pick whatever you want to fit your design. And then I'm using some small seed beads to add into my design. Again, you can also leave these out if you don't want to add the beads, but I'm going to show you how to do that. So get your things together and then let's get started. So the first thing you want to do is cut your cords or threads ready. And in my case, I'm using this thread, the s-lon thread, and what you need is you need 8 lengths of 70 centimeters each. And this is if you want to make it into a ring, because 2 of these lengths will be used for the ring band. So if you don't want to make the ring but just the main part, flower or star, whatever you want it to be, you just need 6, but to make the ring we'll need 8 lengths in total. So to start with, you want to grab one of those cords or threads that you cut off, and I'm just folding it to find roughly about the middle, just so I have a guideline as to where I am. And then you want to fasten this down to your board because this is the first cord that we're going to be working with, but you don't want to do it right in the middle. You want to move a bit down to the side, but you want to make sure you still leave a tail. So first I'm going to go in and just put some regular knots. There's one. I'm just going to put another one. This is purely to be able to fasten it down to the board, because I'm going to be putting the knots through, my pins through the knots, because if you just put it through the cord or thread it probably won't really hold that well. So that's what I'm going to be using the knots for. And I'm going to be working on my macrame board, project board, and also we're going to be needing pins for this. It's going to make it a lot easier to work with. So what I'm going to do is pin this in place. So I'll get my first pin. Get that through the knot. Just to hold it fastened to the board. And then another pin and put it through the other one. This is just temporary, we're going to undo the knots once we've attached all the cords. Like so. So that's now attached to your board. So what we need to do now is start attaching all the rest of the cords, except for 2 of them. So another 5, we need to attach 5 threads of cords onto this base one. So you get another one out, we just do one at a time. And you grab one end, you put it underneath that thread on the board that's already on the board, like so. So you have a bit of, you want to leave a bit of a tail on the other side. Not too much, but just enough so you can work with it at the end. And then you want to grab the other end, the long tail basically, put that back over and around. So back around your base cord and pull it back underneath, and then make sure to pull it up through the loop that you created, like so, and just tighten that. And you want to do the same thing again, so back around with the same end, and then again up through that loop, like so. And then you go in and tighten this, pull both ends tight, and then it sits there nicely on your cord. So that's nicely fastened, nice and secure now. And you've got your short end coming out on the top, and then your long end that we're going to be working with the most coming out towards the bottom. So just push that to the side, move on to your next one, attach that in the exact same way. So put it underneath, leave a bit of a tail on the top end, grab the other end, feed it back around the top of your cord that's attached to your board, back underneath and through the loop, like so. Tighten that and go around and do the exact same thing, back around through the loop and tighten that. Tighten both ends, and again, now that's nicely attached. So push that to the side and just continue attaching your remaining threads. So now we need to start actually making the piece. So we have our 5 cords or threads attached to the very first one that we attached to the board. So that makes us 6 threads in total. So now what we need to do is start working with these that we've attached. So we're basically going to be making rows. You can see on this, what we're going to be doing is basically one petal or one point to the star, whatever you're making, one of them at a time, and then move on to the next one, and so on. So we're going to be making rows underneath each other, rows of knots, but they're going to graduate in size, which is going to create the shape that we want. So to do that, what we're going to do is, we have the 5 cords attached. What we'll do first is leave the first one out. So the first one to the right, we'll leave that out, put that out of the way so it doesn't get mixed up, and then we're going to just start with the very next one in. And to make the very next row underneath the first one, you need to bring that across to the left over the others, and then start making half hitches with your working cords that are coming out underneath, like so. So you bring that around your finger and through the loop, and you want to make sure that your holding cord, the one that was the second one that you brought across, you keep that in a straight line to go straight underneath the other one. And another one, around your finger and through the loop, and tighten. And then put that working thread out of the way. Move on to the next one. This is also not going to attach them all together, so it's going to become more like one piece. Around your finger and through the loop, and tighten it, making sure that the row you're making now is right close underneath the first one. Around your finger and through the loop, and tighten it. And the last loose one, around your finger through the loop, tighten that one, around your finger through the loop, and tighten it, like so. So you can see we left the very first one out, we started creating a row, we brought the very next one across the others and used them to create the next row. So what we need to do now is finish off this row, and this is where we're going to then detach the very first cord that you attached to the board. Just take the one side off, leave the other one on still, but we want to bring the left side into it, and you just want to undo this knot. Like I said, they were just temporary to keep it in place on the board. So undo that knot, and you use this pin to put into your work instead, because you still want to try and make sure that your piece is nice and secure in the board so you can continue working with it securely. So I'm going to put it in between the rows, because I try to not put it too much through the cord that I'm working with. So in between the rows, and then this is your holding cord. It's going all the way across. it's still your holding cord. You bring the one you just released underneath that, like so, and that's going to be your very last working cord. So just do the exact same thing as the other three that you've already done. Around your finger and through the loop. Tighten it, making sure that you still hold your holding cord nice and straight. Around your finger and through the loop, and tighten it, like so. And now, because you've got a bit of work done, just try and use some more pins just to hold your work in place. It's going to get easier as you get along and you get more done. There's going to be more there to hold it in place, like so. So that's your first 2 rows. Moving on to the next row. So again, the very first cord, remember we left the first one out, it's still being left out for now. So the very first one from this row, leave that one out, put it over to the other one, out of the way, and then grab the very next one and bring across all the others. Because you're now going to do the exact same thing. So that you just brought across, that's your holding cord. The others are your working cords. So around your finger and through the loop for the very first one, tighten, around your finger through the loop, and tighten. Next one, around your finger through the loop, tighten that, around your finger and through the loop, and tighten. And again, the last one, this was the holding cord from the previous row. Bring that underneath to finish off this row. So around your finger and through the loop, around your finger and through the loop. So with every working cord we're doing a double half hitch. So that's now the 3rd row. You want to continue, do the same thing, go back to the beginning of that row, leave the first one out, put it to the side, so now you have 3 cords put to the side. Take the very first one after that, bring it across the others, the next one around your finger and through the loop, around your finger and through the loop, like so, and then the one that was your holding cord in the previous row, bring it underneath, around your finger and through the loop to finish off this row, around your finger and through the loop, like so. And as you can see, each row gets smaller and smaller because we leave a cord out each time. So we've now made our 4 rows underneath each other, and with each row leaving out the very first cord, so every row becomes gradually smaller. And we've now reached the point of either the petal or point of the star, wherever you want it to be. So what we need to do now is we need to move our way back down and connect the other side up with this side we've already created. Now you can do this without beads, but if you want to do it with, I'm going to bring in my beads to this. So I'm just going to be using some seed beads for this. Something like this. Just some small beads that'll fit in between. And what I'm going to do is the very furthest one to the left, so the one that's coming out from the very last row, I'm going to put my bead on there, and let it fall all the way down to where it won't go any further. And now we need to start working our way back down. So what you can do now as well is put some more pins into your work, just to make sure it stays in place and it's fastened down nicely, so it doesn't move around too much. And just so you get that nice point as well. So you want to bring this cord that you just put on your bead, bring that back down over all the others, and now you grab the very first one coming underneath, and then put that around your finger and through the loop, and then tighten that, making sure your holding cord that you brought over all the others, you keep that nice and tight and straight down underneath the other rows, around your finger and through the loop, So we're basically doing the same thing as before. We're just working our way the opposite way, building it up. So that's added in our first bead, and we've then made a double half hitch with the next cord so it sits nice and tight in place. And then we put the working cord we just used, put that aside. We'll grab the very next one coming underneath, that's going to be the next working cord. I'm going to grab a bead and put a bead onto that one and let it fall all the way down like so it won't go any further. And then again, your holding cord that's across all the others, and bring your working cord around your finger and through the loop and tighten it, around your finger and through the loop and tighten it. So you do your double half hitches with each working cord that you've got. So that's that one. Put that one aside. So the small row that we've just created, where we added in the 2 beads, is now equivalent to the last row we did on the other side. So it's the same size as that. So when you reach to that point, what you want to do now is go back to the beginning, so back to the furthest left cord, and now make that your holding cord. So you bring that across all the others to start forming a new row underneath this. Because now in the first section we left out a cord on each row to make them gradually smaller, and this one we need to bring them back in to make them gradually larger. So you bring your holding cord across the others, and then the first one coming underneath is your first working cord. So around your finger and through the loop, tighten, around your finger and through the loop, and tighten. And then the next one, which was your holding cord from your previous very first row on this side, you just grab that as well, make sure it comes underneath, around your finger and through the loop, around your finger and through the loop, like so, and then put these aside so they don't get mixed up. So now we reached the next cord that we're going to grab is the one that's coming from the other side. But before we use it, we just want to put a bead onto this one. Like I said, if you want to make this without adding beads, you do exactly the same steps. You just leave out the beads, so that just means the rows are going to be right close to each other instead of having a bead in between. Let that drop all the way down. Now use that to do your double half hitch around your holding cord and tighten that. And this is what's going to bring the 2 sides together as well. Around your finger and through the loop. Like so. Put that out of the way. So that's equivalent to the row on the opposite side of the same size. So now we stop using this as the holding cord. We need to move on to create the next row. So we go back to the furthest left side. Make that the holding cord now. So bring it across over all the other ones. And then take the very first one around your finger and through the loop. Around your finger and through the loop to start making the next row. Put that to the side, next working cord, around your finger, through the loop, tighten it, around your finger and through the loop, tighten it, making sure that your rows are always nice and close to each other, right underneath each other. And then the cord that was the holding cord in the last row, around your finger and through the loop, tighten, around your finger, through the loop, and tighten that. I want to bring in the next one. So you take the one now that's coming again from the other side, put a bead onto that, and let it drop all the way down, like so. And then you want to use this to make your double half hitches to connect the 2 sides together, like so. So that's that row. So this holding cord we now just put down, I'm going to make the very last row, so we'll go back to the furthest left cord, bring that across all the others, and start the next row. So the very first one coming underneath is your first working cord. So around your finger and through the loop, tighten, around your finger through the loop, and tighten. Put that aside, and work your way all the way across like the other rows. And like you see on this side, we're bringing a new cord into every row, so therefore every row now grows rather than become smaller like it did on the other side. And the one that was holding cord from the previous row, around your finger and through the loop, around your finger and through the loop. And we're now left with one loose cord left. We'll bring that into it, put on a bead first, let it drop all the way down, making sure it comes underneath your holding cord, and then bring it around your finger and through the loop. Make sure it stays in place, and then tighten it around your finger and through the loop, and tighten it like so. And there we basically have your first petal, or point to the star, or a leaf, or whatever you want it to be. And what you can do is just readjust your pins if you want to. So now what we want to do is just connect your two cords that are coming out from here, from the bottom basically. Now this one was the last holding cord you used. This one is one that's still attached to the board from the original cord you attached. So you just release that, take the pin off, untie the knot so it's loose, because your piece is fastened to the board, so it's going to stay in place. And then we just want to do a simple knot. Nothing fancy, it's just to connect them together, like so. And you want to make sure that you keep your long one on the left side to keep working with. So the short one, always keep it on the outside basically, kind of out of the way, because all we're going to use that for is connect them all the way around. So that's the first leaf or petal or point done. So now we need to start working on the next one. So we now want to continue to work on our next petal. So you'll probably find, because we're working our way around and it's going to end up almost working in a circle, you'll find you have to keep moving either your board, or you can take the pins out and move your piece around. It's not going to come undone, so don't worry about that. It's just how you prefer to work with it really. So I've just moved it a little bit to get into position. So now what we're going to do is start off the next one. And we're basically just going to do the same thing. You grab the very first one on the right side, not this one, the short one that I told you to leave to the side. Just still kind of forget about that if you can. So grab the first one of your long ones that's coming out like this. You grab that, and that's going to be your first holding cord, bring it across all the others and have the others come underneath. And then after that you grab the very next one that's coming, the first one coming below. So that's going to be your first working cord. So you then start doing your half hitches again, the exact same thing. Double half hitches, like so. You now just want to create another row below the very last one you did, and that's going to be identical. So grab the very next one, working cord. Make sure you always grab the very next cord so you don't cross them over each other. Do your double half hitch, like so. And whenever you're tightening your knots, make sure you hold your holding cord nice and taut, and then roughly in the direction that you want your row to go. because you want to try and get these rows as close to each other without gaps as possible. Grab the next cord, like so, double half hitch, continue all the way across using all your cords in this first one, and the last one, like so. So that's your first row for the next petal. So now we need to start again leaving out cords to get the rows gradually smaller. So for the next one we leave out the very first one, and then we go in and grab the next one. So basically we'll grab the second one in, that's going to be a holding cord, bring the rest underneath, coming out underneath it, and then grab the very next one, it's going to be your first working cord, around your finger and through the loop, and tighten, around your finger and through the loop, and move on all the way across, incorporating all your cords like so. And as you can see, just like with the first petal, this row is going to be smaller than the previous one. And grabbing the very last one, that was the holding cord from the previous row, like so. Back to the beginning, leave out the first one, put them to the side, and then grab the very next one, bring it across, and do your double half hitches, creating the next row. And the last one, like so. Again, back to the beginning, leave out the first one. As you can see, we're getting less and less cords to work with. Bring it across, and do your double half hitches. Like so. So I've now done my 4 rows on this side, graduating to get smaller and smaller, and now we need to come back down, add our beads in, and connect the 2 sides to make the very next petal. So I'm just going to turn it a bit again, just to get into a better working position. Bring all my cords down again, and get my beads ready to add in here. So the very first one, on the left side, that was the last holding cord. We're going to add a bead to that one, just like we did with the previous petal, like so. And then I'm just going to get a pin again and just put it into my work to hold it down while I'm working with it, like so. And then bring this cord that I just added the bead to back across all the others, because now we need to work our way back down. So come back around and grab the very next one, that's your first working cord, and then do your double half hitches, but just the opposite, with your opposite hands basically, like so. And put that one aside, and grab the next one, the next holding working cord, sorry, it's coming underneath. I'm going to just add a bead to that one, and let it drop all the way down, and then do your double half hitch with that. Bringing the 2 sides together as we're doing this. So that's your first row, that's now the same as the other side. So now we need to go back to the furthest left cord, bring that across to start the very next row. Bring that across and do your double half hitch with the next one, like so. Put it aside, and then grab the one that was your holding cord from your previous row, double half hitch, like that. Grab the next cord, it's coming from the opposite side, put a bead onto that, let it drop all the way down, sit in between your two sides, then do a double half hitch with that as well to connect them. Like so. So that's now equivalent to the opposite row in the same position. So go back to the beginning, the very furthest to the left, bring it across, and then start your next row with your double half hitches. Every row increasing, adding in an extra cord, adding in the ones that were left out on the other side. Like so. We reach the next one from the other side when I put a bead onto that. Do a double half hitch to lock them together. Connect the two sides. Like that. Go back to the beginning. So basically every time you've added a bead and caged that in, lock that together, done a knot with that cord, sorry, then you want to go back to the beginning again. Bring it across to your very next one. Start your new row. Moving all the way down. Bring in the previous holding cord. Like so. Now we reach the very last loose cord. Put a bead onto that. There. Making sure the cord with the bead comes underneath the other one. And take it around your finger and through the loop and tighten to bring the two sides proper together. And one more time to lock it all in place, like so. So that's basically the second petal done. Now we just want to do the same thing again. The shorter cord that we used just to close in the end of the petal, the bottom of the petal, the previous one, we just want to do the same thing now. But on this one, I'm just going to do a little bit something different. I'm going to get my other two spare pieces of cord, the ones from that I cut out at the beginning, and I need to then add these onto this short cord, because these are the ones that's going to end up forming in the ring band at the end. So these are the same length, but what you want to do is make sure that when you fold it over to get your loop to attach it, because we're going to use a lark's head knot to attach it, you don't want to fold it over in the middle. You want one piece to be longer than the other, so you can see one side ends there and the other side continues. So the short side basically just needs to be as long as you would need to go around your finger, and then obviously a little bit more for extra working cord, because the other side needs to be longer because that's what you're going to use to make your knots with, to form the ring band. So put that on with a lark's head knot to that short cord from before. So you make your loop, put it underneath, and then put your fingers through and pull the ends through that loop, like so. So you get something like this, roughly like a pretzel shape, and then tighten And making sure you do the same thing with the other loose cord, spare cord that you've got left. Make a loop so you again have one short side and one longer side. And then put that loop underneath that short cord, attaching it to the same as before. Put your fingers through, grab your ends and pull them through, and then tighten like so. Now the only thing you just got to be aware of when you're attaching these cords is you now have them like this, side by side. What you just want to make sure is that your short ends are the ones in the middle. So in my case it's these two. Because you want the outside ones to be the long ones, because we're going to be just using a regular square knot around these to form the ring band at the end. And all you do is just push these all the way down as far as they'll go and just put them to the side for now. All we need to do with them now is just attach them, because the actual ring band will be making that at the end. Obviously if you don't want to make this into a ring, just leave this step out and just continue the same all the way around without making your extra cords for the ring band. So we do the same as before. We want to connect these two together. Just do a simple knot, making sure your long piece that you've used throughout your leaves or petals stays on this side, and then the short one stays kind of out of the way. Like so. So that's now 2 petals or 2 leaves or 2 points to your star, whatever you want it to be, done. And you've now attached the cords you need for the ring band as well, if you want to make it into a ring. Like I said, leave them out if you don't want to use it as a ring, and just continue without that step. And now we just want to start on the next petal. So we just continue doing the same thing now. So this first one on the right side are the long ones. Bring that across the others. Start making your double half hitches all the way along. One cord at a time, making sure you always grab the next one to form the very first row for the next petal. Move all the way across. This is your longest row, or largest row, because we're using all the cords. Like so. So that's your first row for the next petal. And then now is where we then go back to the beginning, leave the very first one out, and then grab the very next one as the holding cord, bring it across, and start a double half hitches with that. Like so, all the way across, to create your very next row, graduating downwards in size. And the last one, that was your holding cord from the previous row. Like so. Back to the beginning, leave the first one out and just continue. And like you can see, that's doing exactly the same as we did in the previous petal. And you'll just keep doing this. What you'll end up with is then 6 of these petals all the way around until you meet up with the first one again. So you just keep doing, you want to do the exact same thing as the previous petal, adding in your beads when you come back down, and move all the way around. So do that, and then I'll show you the next step when we get to it. So I've now continued all the way around, and I've made my 6 petals. Actually in this case I think it looks more like a star. It's probably because of the colours, but it can be whatever you want it to be. And then if you want it to meet up so it lies flat and the 2 sides meet up, you'll need to make 6 like I've done. But in this case, the ring I showed you where I've done this, put a flower bead in the middle and use them as leaves. I made 5, which is then, it kind of brought them together by then attaching them together at the end, like we're going to do next. But you make 5 instead and you can get a different shape to them. So that's what I did on this one. So you don't have to make 6 if you don't want to. You just need to do that if you want it to lie flat. So the next step now is to attach the 2 loose ends together, so we get one whole complete piece. So to do that, I'm going to detach it from my board, like so. And you got your piece here. And then you have all the cords from the beginning of your piece, and then the ones at the end that you've been using throughout. So what we need to do now is attach the 2 sides together. First thing, you want to just separate your cords out. You want to get the ones that you attached during making your piece that you're going to use for your ring band. Just put them aside so you don't get them mixed up and accidentally attach them with the others. But otherwise you want to bring them, I'm going to turn it around because I'm going to do this on the back, so it's not going to be visible. And then bring all the cords to this side. And then what you can do is just tie it down to the board with your pins or whatever you're using, just to keep it nice and fastened so it's not going to move around too much while you're working with it, like so. Then as you can see, your 2 sides are going to meet up. We just need to make sure they're fastened together. And to do this, all I'm going to do is use some regular knots. I'm going to do 1 set of cords at a time. So this is the only thing that's going to be a little bit, in a way, a bit fiddly, but it's only because you have cords all over the place. So you just need to make sure you pick out the right ones. So pick your first ones, and you can use a pin or something, get the others out of the way. So I have my 2 first ones on the outer side, there, and all I'm going to do is just a regular overhand knot, tie it together nice and tight, because you ideally want to make it as smooth a transition as possible when you look at it from the other side, so it looks like they're just stuck together like all the other petals or points. So you ideally don't want a gap between the 2 sides. And I'm going to make another one on top of that knot just to hold it in place, like so. I'm going to put these away because I've already done them. Move on to the next ones. Just pick out the very next ones. That's these for me. Do the same thing. Just a regular knot. Tie it nice and tight so it's not going to come undone either. And a second one, because you also want to make sure that the back side isn't going to be too bulky. That's why just making these knots with 2 cords at a time I find is the best way. Grab the very next ones. Same kind of knot. Like so. Put them aside and move on. And you just continue like this all the way up to the middle till you've used up all your cords and you connected the 2 sides together. So I've now made my knots all the way up to the very centre of it, still leaving out the cords that we need for the ring band. Just put them aside. What we need to do now is just seal these knots in place. For that I'm just going to get out some glue. And this is some Hypo cement glue. I really like to use this glue in general. It's nice and strong, and it dries clear so it won't be visible once it dries. And then it stays flexible, so like some glues, when they dry they go hard. This doesn't, it stays flexible, so it's going to be a lot more comfortable, say, against the skin. And then also, one very big plus about it is it has a really fine applicator tip. which is very handy, especially for doing very fine work like macrame and things like that. So I'm going to use this to just seal the knots in place. So just basically go over the knots. You don't want to put too much glue on, but just enough to seal them in place so we can cut off the excess cord. Go around the other side as well, just to grab them, so that once you cut them off, it's not going to come undone. Something like that. You can put your glue away, and then you obviously want to leave that to dry, and then once it's dried, cut off the excess cords of these that you put glue on, remembering, make sure you don't accidentally cut off your ring band ones. So cut them off as close as you can get them without having it come undone, and then it's time to start working on the ring band. So I've now cut off all the excess cord, and I'm left with the ones that we're going to use for the ring band. So to make this, that is really quite simple. You can pin it in again to your board if you want to, just to hold it in place. It'll make it a little bit easier. And then we're going to use these 4 cords to make the ring band. And then, like I said, you want to make sure that the 2 short ones, 2 short lengths that you have, are in the middle, because they're just going to be the holding cords. And then all we're going to do for the ring band is make square knots, because that's what I did on this one as well. So you just make the ring band from square knots. So have the 2 short ones in the middle, and then use your longer ones to make your square knots around them. So to make your regular square knot, you put one side over first, over your holding cords, take the other one over that, and then put that underneath both, and then pull it up through the loop. So you get something that looks like this, and then tighten it, nice and tight, all the way up to where the cords are attached. And then finish off a square knot by doing the same thing, but from the other side. If you're not quite sure how to do square knots, I have a video on basic macrame knots that might be helpful. I'll link that in the description box. And you just keep doing your square knots until you reach the length that you need the ring band to be, and then we just need to attach it on the other side. So just keep doing this, and then I'll show you how we finish it off. So I've finished making the whole length of my ring band, and all you do is just to measure it. If you're making it for yourself, you just take it off, and as you go, measure it around your finger to find out how long you need it to be. And obviously you want the end to meet up with the middle part as well on the other side. So now we just need to get rid of these 2 working cords. So we're just going to do that the same way that we normally finish off a macrame bracelet. So I'm going to get my Hypo cement glue out, and what we're going to do is just put glue right at the end around your cords and in that little last well in your very last square knot. I'm going to do it on both sides, but this is going to be hidden underneath the star or the flower anyway. It's just to be able to get rid of these ends. Like so. And then let that dry, and then we can cut these off nice and close to the piece, and then it's a matter of attaching it. So I've now gotten rid of my 2 working cords, and all we have left is the 2 holding cords. So I'm going to detach it from my board. So we have the piece and then the ring band done. Well, now we just need to attach it. So what you do is you always shape it around, And then what you'll find is, because of the way we've made this, is you'll have these little gaps in your piece as you went along, because you connected the bottom of your petals or points. And what you want to do now is you want to go straight across from where your cards are attached. So you don't want to go right next to it, because you want it to go straight across to be even, obviously. And you want to get the ends of your holding cards that you have left through that gap. And you're basically going to use this gap to tie it off and secure it in place. Like so. So they're coming out on the other side, but not through the middle hole, but through a gap, so we have something to tie it onto. And then pull it all the way down so it sits, and as you can see, that'll then end up forming your ring band, and it'll sit nicely and straight. So this will sit nicely and straight on your finger. And what you need to do now is tie these two ends off by going around. So then back down through the middle. And then coming up through a gap again. This is really just however you can get it to tie it off. You can always use your pins to open up the gaps a bit. And then come back up through there. And then you want to tie knots, obviously, to be able to tie it off completely, so we can eventually cut off the ends. So this is just to secure it in place, making sure it's pulled all the way, the ring band, up, and then tie it off like this. And you want to do a few knots so it's nice and secure, and then again do that with the other side as well, working over to the other side, wherever you can find a gap to go through. And then you can either leave it like this, or all that's left to do then is add the middle. So I've now tied both ends off around the center, and they feel really nice and secure. So I'm just going to get rid of one of them, because we'll use one of these to attach that bead in the middle. So I'm going to get rid of the other one. And I'm just going to put a bit of glue on to the knots, just to really secure them in place so they don't come undone in time. Like so. And again, like usual, let it dry and then cut that one off. And then we're ready to attach the bead in the middle. So I've now got rid of that one cord, and we're left with the one that we're going to be using to attach the bead in the middle with. And then I'm going to get that out, and this is just a shell bead. And this is about an 6 or an 8 mil, but really it doesn't matter what size, it's whatever suits your design. I'm going to put that onto the cord, and then where this cord is coming from this particular point or petal, and you want to then use the exact opposite point to get it to sit right, because you let it drop down, and to get it to sit in the middle, we then need the cord to come down through here. So again, you still have these gaps around, and what you can do, if it's a bit tight, like I said, use your pins or something to open it up a little bit to get your end of your cord through. So get it through on the opposite side in that little gap. Pull it so your bead sits nicely, like so. So you put your bead in place, you put the end of your cord through a gap, and then just come back up through the middle next to your bead, wherever you can find a gap really. And then it's just a matter of tying this off It's really whatever way you can find of doing that. If you can get down through a gap again, do that. You can tie it around the cord itself. It's coming out through the bead, making sure you then go through the loop to actually make a knot on it. And then pull that tight. And then you just do that a couple of times, wherever you can find gaps to secure your cord in place. And then you obviously want to do the same thing. Just put a bit of glue wherever you finish it. If you can finish it on the back side, do it on there. And then cut off the end. So I've now glued and cut that end off. And then your piece is basically finished and it's nice and secure. So you now have a finished ring. And this is how it sits on your finger. And this band, this type of band as well, is nice and comfortable to wear. And it's got a nice size for a ring. Obviously, if you wanted to make it to use it for something else, you just leave out the ring band part. But otherwise, this is how you make this flower, leaf or star ring, whatever you want it to be. So I hope you enjoyed that, and thank you very much for watching. Hello there everyone. Today I want to show you how to make this watermelon round Hypo braid. And this is what it looks like. So obviously we achieve the watermelon effect also by the use of colours, but also the actual pattern. So if you want to learn how to make that, then keep watching. And these are the things that you'll need.